How's it going, my wonderful and lovely subscribers and viewers? This is Matt, and I'm here today with my February 2023 Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG ban list reaction. Now, I know I'm late because I was out of town. I was in Salt Lake City, right, with some friends, but I just got back today, like literally, like just got back from the airport, and I decided I'm gonna make this video for y'all. I'm sure y'all already seen this ban list. You already seen the reactions. No, this is not my first time seeing this ban list. That I'm not even gonna pretend to like those other Yu-Gi YouTubers to like, oh, slowly scroll through the website. Oh, first time reacting. Nah, nah, nah. I'm reacting again to this ban list. I already reacted to it. I'm reacting again. So yeah, Christmas came early this year. So yesterday I woke up. It might have been the best day of my life. I saw this ban list and I'm like, wow, this is like the best ban list in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh. Like straight up. So we're gonna get into it. In my other ban list videos, I usually start on the unlimited section and I move up to bans. But nah, this time I gotta start in the bans because what like the ban list, that's like the headliner. This is like, I don't want to bury the lead, right? This is the headliner of this freaking ban list. All right, so we have four bans, which is more than normal. Artifact Scythe, Barrier Statue Stormwinds, Chillaman Kikalos, and Sprite Elf. So these are like the uh all these cards deserve bans. Yes, including Sprite Elf. I know people are whining about Sprite Elf, but Sprite Elf is just too generic of a rank 2, right? If it was, linked away using two Sprite monsters and it could only revive Sprite monsters, maybe I would be okay with it. But it's way too generic. It can revive Toad, like it can revive. It's stupid. Fuck it, right? Fuck this card. Um, so this is one of those kinds of balance where it looks like Konami is trying to like do like a hard reset on like the format. I mean, obviously, Photon Hypernova just came out. Cash Tira is the new shiny deck that everyone is interested in, and may end up being the best deck of the format, right? And obviously, unlike in the OCG, Cash Tira did not get hit. So in the OCG, Tira got gutted about around the same time that Cash Tira did, right? So yeah, it kind of like all worked out, and those decks kind of. I mean, they didn't disappear, but like they were definitely taken down significantly. Um, so yeah, I mean, obviously they want to sell products, so they're not going to hit Cash Tira yet. I understand, I get it. Um, but what I will say is this ban list didn't quite go far enough. Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, if you're already doing a Scorch Earth, you should take the Scorch Earth a little bit further. So what do I mean by that? So I think the two more cards should be on this ban list. One being totally awesome, and the other being the Wandering Griffin Rider, right? So we all know that the Adventure Engine, unlike in the OCG, has not been hit at all. It's at full power, and we're 100,000% going to be seeing that very soon in this upcoming format. The Adventure Engine is going to be everywhere. I think Kashtira is already playing it because like basically the Kashtira end board without the Adventure Engine is Nibiru, is a Nibiru token, right? So yeah, it's very weak to Nibiru. It's a lot more vulnerable than Tier and like other decks are to like cards like Nibiru, right? Interruptions like that. So yeah, I kind of just wanted to see, just put Totally Awesome and Griffin right on this. Like, but the OCG already banned those two cards, right? Make the TCG ban list a little closer to the OCG, but that's okay. I'm still happy. Scythe is gone. We're not going to be seeing that. By the way, for those of you wondering, oh, Scythe isn't relevant anymore. Yes, it is. Do you know why? Because there's this new card called Triple Tactics Thrusting or Thrusting, whatever the hell, that came out in Photon Hypernova. It's a card that allows you to search any spell trap, right, and set it to your field, and depending on some conditions, you can activate it in the same turn. But yeah, like with that card, people, I could totally have seen people abusing like Scythe, right? Because Scythe can be summoned off Sanctum, and Sanctum could be set off Triple Tactics Thrusting. So yeah, this is just one fear away. They're preemptively hitting Scythe because they know that this card will, as toxic and cancerous as it is always going to try to make a comeback somehow. Abused by decks, so that's why it's on this list. Barrier Statue Stormwind, obviously a hit to Flu, RIP Flu, and it's a preemptive hit to Kashtira. Why? So here's the deal, folks. Flu's kind of a dead deck because Kashtira is better than Flu in like every way, right? It's a deck that uses D Shifter just like Flu, and it's a deck that can doesn't care about the graveyard, right? Totally cool with banishing, and it's a deck that can summon out Barrier Statue of the Stormwinds very easily on their end board. So yeah, this is a people say, oh, this is targeted at Flu. Sure, but it's also targeted at Kashtira. So, yeah, I already disassembled my Flu deck. I took all the cards out of the sleeves. I put it back in my binder. No more Flu for me. Yeah, like Barrier Statue plus Kashtira being the top deck is just like there's literally no point in playing Flu, right? Um, Tier Limits Kalos. So this card was banned in the OCG. Obviously, Tier Limit deck is still relevant there. And in fact, in the short span of time when I was playing Flandres, right, against in the formats or whatever, guess what, folks? I was playing main deck Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. That's the card that allows you to banish your opponent's extra deck monsters. And I was banishing my tier opponent's Kalos, and they were still able to play through and make a pretty solid board. So I knew even if you take out Kit Kalos from them being able to access it, they're still going to be really strong. So it's the rest of this ban list that's really going to be the final nail in the coffin. But yeah, Kit Kalos absolutely 100,000% needed to be banned. No question about that. If you're a salty tier player because you bought a Starlight tier limits Kit Kalos and like you're whining on the internet about how oh no my investments, yeah, well you're kind of an idiot for spending all that money on a deck you knew with 100,000,000% absolute certainty was going to get banned, right? So yeah, it's on you for being this dumb. Also, let me say another thing about tier players, right? Because tier players love to complain. It's ironic that, and not that ironic. It's fitting that this archetype is called tier limits because like these players love to complain about everything, and yet they're playing the most like toxic broken deck in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Like you're literally not allowed to complain about anything, and yet you are, right? You're whining, you're complaining. Let me say another thing about tier players, because I'm gonna be shitting on tier players throughout this video and probably until the end of time. But I didn't go to very many locals. Okay, I went to because this format was cancer, right? I did go to locals before Ishizu card. I went to way more locals before Ishizu cards came out. After Ishizu came out, I went to locals for like, alternative formats like Jank format. For those of you who don't know what Jank is, go watch my other video on my latest Dark Magician deck, right? So I only actually attended locals a total of 3 times in the Ishizu tier format, in like a advanced TCG format, like non-alternative formats, right? That is actually that's not true. I attended 5 times. 2 of the times was when I was in New York visiting my buddy, but I'm not gonna count those because it was kind of troll. But yeah, but it like that I actually took like seriously, right? 3 times I went to locals, twice at my locals just now, in January, once in January, once in December, and then I went when I was visiting Salt Lake City. I invaded one of their locals there, and I played, right. So in those 3 locals, I was playing Labyrinth, as y'all may know. I got first place in 2 of them, so the 2 that are in town, and I got second place in the Salt Lake City one. And honestly, like that second place finishing in Salt Lake was I was legitimately tired and made so many misplays in that final matchup against the tier player. But yeah, like so in Salt Lake City, I played 3 tier players. I 2-0'd two of them, and then in the finals I lost 2-0 to the tier player who got first place. So point is, I played a lot of, even in those few locals I attended, I played, and plus I've been playtesting online, I've been playtesting on Yu-Gi-Oh! Omega, right? But I'm just counting locals, right, where there's prizing and stakes involved, right? I got first place in 2 of them and second place in 1 of them. I'm not going to say that, I solved, I had the secret formula to beating tier. But what I am saying is, like, I'd say it's kind of sad, if you think about it. If you're a tier player dumping hundreds and hundreds of dollars on this deck, knowing with that it was going to get hit, right? Knowing with absolute certainty, like you knew in your mind, you were conscious of the fact that it was the most broken deck. It was incredibly overpowered. Like it was, a tier 0 deck, right? You knew you were getting into, right? So there were players who purposely like made that decision to spend that money, right? And my guess is they did that because they wanted to win locals or win something, win games, right? And yet these 3 locals I attended, most of the tier players there just lost to me, right? Or like, I mean, I'll say, I beat tier players. I beat more tier players than I lost to tier players. Like that's right. I told you about that last locals I went to here where I got first place. I told you about that Infernoble Knight player, who's like obsessed with Infernoble Knights. I think he made top 4. He also beat tier players, right? It's like you take this broken deck to your locals, guessing, hoping that you're going to win, because, why else would you be spending this much money on a deck that you know is going to get banned? Like, I'm guessing you want to win, right? And you don't win, right? And you still lose to, like, Labyrinth, Infernoble, maybe a Sprite, maybe, like, a Crystal Beast. Like, you still lose to these, like, other decks. I don't know. It's just really funny to me. And also, like, kind of sad, right? It's like, I don't know. That's kind of the problem I have with, like, tier 0 formats. I mean, it's just, like, the mirror matchup just seems. I mean, yeah, you can say there was a lot of interaction in the mirror matchups because Mudora can bounce the cards and bounce this and bounce that, right? Blah 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 blah, blah, right? Mill. Uh, but it's just like I don't know. It just if you're a tier zero player, like you're playing a tier zero deck and you don't win or top your locals, what are you even doing, right? Like I don't. It just seems sad to me. It's like the whole point of spending so much money on this deck is to win locals. And yeah, obviously there have been plenty of tier players who have won locals, but there's been way more tier players who have not won locals, like consistently, right? And it's just like I don't know. I just think it's sad, like that. And kind of funny that's the case. But I hope you enjoyed your little 6 to 8 months reign, but because it's over, your time has come to an end. You're gonna have to actually play decks that aren't free with victories. By the way, speaking of tier players at locals, I've played plenty of tier players at locals where it's very clear that they're not super good at Yu-Gi-Oh. Like they don't know a lot about um, you know, uh, timings and chain reactions. They don't necessarily know like what their opponent's deck do. They don't know a lot. Like, so one of the things that really annoyed me about tier, and this is the reason why I really hated going locals when tier was around, is because you play 3, 4 tier players in the span of like few hours, right? You just feel tired and exhausted. Like it's not like okay, let me make this example. You're against a Fluanderies player, a Sword Soul player, or a Tri Brigade player. They like those decks have a very one-dimensional, straightforward, predictable out. Like exactly, what they're gonna do and how they're gonna end their board. Like you can literally zone out, like take a nap if you want during their turn and like not even pay attention because it's like, okay, they're just doing standard one-dimensional, whatever their deck does, right? But with tier players, because there was all this milling and like timing and like chain links and stuff, you actually had to pay attention to what your tier opponent was doing. Why? Because most of the time, and I would say like I paid close attention every time it was my tier player. I had to make sure they're using they're not activating the same name or like they're not missing timing on an effect, right? Like I had to like actually I corrected a number of tier players that I played against who misplayed, and I had to explain to them how they misplayed, right? Or like if you watch my deck profile video, I had that matchup against the one tier player who was salty about Necro because I played Necro Valley against them, and they had to call a judge to explain to them how Necro Valley works. It's like, bro, come on. It's like the point is I've met a lot of really dumb tier players. Granted, there's a lot of dumb Yu-Gi-Oh players in general, but the fact that they were dumb and playing tier meant that they were probably winning more games and getting further in like certain tournaments and like whatever, then they probably deserve to. Does that make sense? Like tier elevated dumb players. Like obviously it was great for like professional players for their skill expression, but it's like even dumb players can play this deck quite effectively, and even like dumb players who didn't know what they were doing and like were misplaying or like messing up or whatever, not doing optimal plays that I would notice against even against those players, sometimes these games felt close. Like I was playing Labyrinth, and it felt like a close game. Like if I made one mistake, it would have been over for me, right? Like so, that's the thing. Like this deck was just so insanely overpowered that it gave bad players. It's like a push-up bra, right? For bad Yu-Gi-Oh players. It's just like it just made them look better than they actually were, and that was probably one of my biggest annoyances with tier. Not just that it was everywhere, and I was sick of this matchup, and their turns took forever. There's this hilarious joke that my friend told me. It's like, oh, if you start playing a Yu-Gi-Oh game against a tier player at 11:20 p.m. on December 31st, then by the time they pass turn, it'll be New Year's, right? Like it was just an obnoxious deck. Like that's the thing. It was just so obnoxious. Like it had too much resilience. Like even bad players could just like do a little too. I'm not saying these same bad players were top, but they would definitely do like be more effective and get further than they should have, right? So like that was part of the problem that I had with it. It was just too like brainlessly good, right? It's like there could have been so many ways to like make it so this deck wasn't broken. For example, notice that every single tier card in this archetype has like this added effect that there's either a graveyard search or there's like an effect to send a card to the graveyard as an effect, right? It's like why does it have to be that way? Like Tearlament's Crime is an omni negate counter trap card that also allows you to send a card to the graveyard and start a new tier combo, right? It's like, why couldn't it just be just a counter trap that negated cards? That's it. No sending cards to the graveyard. Or Suliak, right? Suliak is a continuous trap that negates monsters forever. Not until the end phase, no, forever, right? Which is insane to me. It's like, why is it got to negate like forever? Why couldn't it just negate to the end phase, right? And not only did it negate, but it also like send a card to the graveyard, which triggers a new Tier Limits chain in like play, right? It's like, why couldn't Konami just be like, okay, just a continuous trap that negates, done. You need it's a searchable off tier cards off of Kikalos. You need a tier on the field in order to use it. Like that would make a lot more sense. But no, it's like Konami was like, no, how do we make this even more broken? Oh, let's do this thing, but also do this other thing that starts an entire new combo. It's insane to me. It's like every single card. Oh, Sulia gets milled, has a search effect. Scream gets milled, has a search effect. Why does everything have to have a search effect? Why couldn't it just be the three monsters, the three names? When they get milled, they fuse. Period. Like, why does every single card have to have a graveyard effect? Why? You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just too much. It was just unnecessarily too much, in my opinion. So, yeah. So that was a problem with this archetype. It's like Konami clearly had no idea what the fuck they were doing, or if they did, they thought it was okay because like, but clearly it wasn't because they put out this ban list and they realized, yeah, we went too far. But yeah, it's just like a like a 6-year-old design this archetype. It's like, oh well, my monster does this. Oh, but it also does this. It's like my nephew designed this archetype. Like that's how much insanely broken power this archetype had. Where like everything like each card couldn't do one or two things. They had to do like three or four things, right? It's like why? Just stop. Just stop. But no, it just wouldn't stop. It's like Kaleido Heart. Okay, it got sends to graveyard by card effect. It revives itself. Okay, that's fine. But also it revives itself and sends a card to the graveyard. Like why does it have to do that extra thing, right? Why couldn't it just revive itself? Period, right? Um, it's like your planet, the planet Pirulino. It's a Rhoda, right? Um, so you search your starter and you increase the attack of all your monsters by 500, and you get a pop every turn. Like I don't know, it just seemed like too much. Like they should have just stopped, just one or two things. That's it. No, but they had to put like 3, 4 effects per card, and that's the thing that really bothered me. Anyway, all right, my rant is over. Let's get back into this ban list. But yeah, if I were designing a ban list, I obviously would have banned Kikalos. I also would have banned Toad and Griffin Rider just for future implications of the format. Let's get into limited section. So this limited section is where they really final nail in the coffin for tier limits, because we have all 4 of the Ishizu cards limited to 1, and the 3 tier limits names that fuse limited to 1. So that means if you get Bestialed once, it's over for you. Like that's pretty much what it means, right? One Bestial and you're just done. um, so if I were developing a ban list, like if it was up to me, I would have honestly like put Kelbeck and Agito to 1 each, left Mudora and Keldo alone. I would have banned Havness, and then probably left Merrily and Sharon alone. Like just ban Havness, like right. That's probably what I would, and ban the field spell, right? I think Merrily at 3, Sharon at 3 would have been okay if Havness is banned, because Havness is like a super obnoxious card. And then obviously the Millers are extremely obnoxious too, because like the problem with the Millers is it's not just mills your own cards, it mills your opponent's cards, and that really fucks with rogue decks or like decks that don't like milling or don't have graveyard effects. It really restricts the amount of like available and allowable playstyles. By forcing your opponent to mill when they don't want to, like when clearly you're milling because of your own cards, it's just like that extra effect. Like, oh, just mill your opponent's card too. Like, why not, right? That's the big problem. So yeah, I would have put Akito and Kelbeck to 1 each, and I would have banned Havness completely and put left Merrily and Sharon alone, right? So that means like 1 Bestial, and then like they can't get further than a single fusion essentially, or whatever. But I'm okay with this as long as the deck is dead. Now, will it be dead? In the OCG, it wasn't dead. The TCG did go harder. In the OCG, I think most of these Ishizu cards are not limited. I think only one of them is, or I don't know. And then obviously, I think Havness is still at 2 there. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like they have. OCG has a lot more cards than here. So yeah, good job, Konami. Honestly, I was expecting this ban list to come out in like June, July, maybe March at the absolute earliest. But we're getting this the day before Valentine's Day. Oh, I'm gonna treat myself to a beautiful, lovely dinner to celebrate on Valentine's Day with my waifu, Labyrinth, right? Uh, to celebrate this ban list because oh man, this is just a beautiful timing. It's like as soon as I saw this ban list, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go to YCS LA, right? YCS Vegas is too soon, and it's like a 3v3. YCS LA is in April, and I think I'm actually gonna sign up for that and attend YCS. Obviously, I want to see what happens at Vegas, just to see is tier really dead, right? But also, but I think I'm gonna go and see how broken cash tier is or not, right? But yeah, I'm actually planning to go to YCS LA in April. Now that this ban list is here, like yeah, I think it's time. We got our Photon Hypernova cards for a Labyrinth. By the way, if tier it is indeed dead, guess what? We can drop Soul Drain in the side deck. We can drop the Necro Valley package in the main deck. We just opened up six slots for cards in our Labyrinth deck, folks. So this is great, great news. So Ancient Fairy Dragon is getting rotted. Everyone knew that. I was never around during the time when that card was broken, so can't really comment. But it's coming back with an errata, so it'll probably be fair. Other limits I would have personally done. Same thing they have in OCG. The Adventure Engine to 1. Enchantress to 1. Rite of Aramis here to 1. That's what I would have done too, because yeah, for a fact Adventure's coming back. But guess what? If Adventure is coming back, you know what else come back? Witch's Strike. Stay tuned for that, folks. Witch's Strike is back on the menu, boys. All right. No semi limits, which is fine. Unlimited. Oh, before I comment on there are two cards in the limited. Lyrilusk, Recital Starling, and or semi-limited. Lyrilusk, Recital Starling is semi-limited. Pot of Desires semi-limited. I would put Desires back to 1. I would put Lyrilusk, Recital Starling back to 1. I think they came back to 2 prematurely. I think we should have waited to see first, but that's just me. Anyway, unlimited. Destrudo, don't care. Jet Synchron, don't care. These are basically coming back because Hulk is gone, right? They didn't come back to 3. Servant of Demion, pen best deck, doubt it, but it's back, I guess. Cool. True King Lithogasm. This is the Earth one that Dinos used to run, I believe, right? That has like pop effects and extra deck destruction. I wasn't around during that time, but I do know that was like pretty busted. I mean, Dinos have been relatively irrelevant, but there have been some news about new Dino cards coming out, so maybe Dinos will make a comeback. I'm okay with Dinos being relevant, honestly. I don't think Dinos was ever that unhealthy of a deck. I just thought that Miscellaneous Saurus was kind of stupid because it's like, oh, you get to not interact with my dinos during main phase. Like, okay. Like, yeah, I just had a problem with Miscellaneous Saurus, but the rest of the dino support I think was fine. This True King, I don't know. So I wasn't around during that time, so I can't comment. Yatagrasu 3, obviously doesn't matter. Spiral Resort doesn't matter because Master Plan is banned, so yeah. Yeah, that's my reaction. Best ban list in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! Happiest day of my life, etc., etc. Yeah, so for those of you wondering, what do we do with Labyrinth? My gut feeling is take out the Necro Valley package. Don't think we need any more. Zombie World in the side deck for Flu. Don't need any more. I don't think we're gonna see Flu. No more Soul Drain needed. Maybe put it Witch's Strike 2 back in the side deck, right? Because adventure matchups. Maybe the main deck, depending how often adventure shows up, right? Imperial Iron Wall, great. If Runic makes a comeback, Imperial Iron Wall shits on Runic, right? So, and obviously Imperial Iron Wall is great against Kashtira. But anyway, so those are my initial thoughts on deck changes. Still got to play test. I haven't actually played against full power Kashtira yet, or like with the new ban list. So yeah, I'll have to get back to y'all on that. But those are my initial impressions on what the changes to Labyrinth will be. But yeah, Labyrinth best deck. See, the beautiful thing about decks like Labyrinth and Eldritch is like, see, you're one of these like meta slaves. You pay hundreds of dollars on a tier limit deck. You're paying hundreds of dollars on a Kashtira deck, which will be hit, right? In the OCG, they got Unicorn and Fenrir to 1, so yeah. The thing about Labyrinth is all these Starlights and like high rarity cards I bought, they will never be banned. That's the beauty, right? It's like this money I'm investing is in cards I will actually get to play with as long as I fucking want, right? How great is that? It's like, oh, I bought like Ultimate Rare, like Skill Drains and Solemn Judgments, Collector's Rare Torrentials, Collector's Rare Solemn Strikes, right? I bought those when I was playing Eldritch, and I'm still playing with those same freaking cards. Like, that's how awesome it is to be a trap deck, control player, where your deck is probably not going to be irrelevant unless, like, I don't know, it gets power crept by a new trap deck that's even better. Like I think Labyrinth is going to be the king of control like trap deck for a long time, at least 3 years. Eldritch was king for like 2 3 years, right? Um, and even the Eldritch core like wasn't even high rarity. Like secret rare Eldritch was like the most rare, but you got to put with the gold rare Eldritch obviously. But anyway, um, yeah, it was the traps that was really the most expensive part. And guess what? Those traps are transferable to future decks. So yeah, they're not going anywhere. So yeah, it's a great day to be a Labyrinth player. It's a great day to be a Yu-Gi-Oh player. My locals are finally going to be revived. Like so many people I know at my locals just stopped playing during issues with tier format, and I think they're going to come back. I think Konami realized, oh nope, not as many people going to locals. There's been a significant drop in the Yu-Gi-Oh interest, and yeah, that's what happens when you put out a toxic broken deck that like you gotta fix it, and it looks like they finally have. I guess we'll see, right? Maybe it's still gonna dominate YCS Vegas, but I'd really doubt it when Kashtira is at like near full power. So yeah, hope you enjoy my reaction, and yeah, hasn't been videos in like over a week. That's because again I was traveling. I was in Salt Lake City, right? I was away. Yeah, I'm gonna get back. The ladder in Master Duel reset. So I'm gonna do that climb, right? Probably gonna do some playtesting on Yu-Gi-Oh! Mega. Probably play. So this week I'm planning to play Jank format Yu-Gi-Oh! With my Labyrinth because I want to play with the new cards. And next week when the ban list is official, I'm gonna try to go to a regular like advanced format locals that with playing Labyrinth as well because I want to try out my new build. So yeah, thanks for all for watching. Stay tuned. Hope you enjoyed. See you in the next video. Peace.